still do 7 NUFC Matters shows for free a week. But if you want to support the channel, there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast or video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications options. Hit the thanks button to buy a super sticker. You can do this on the live chat too. You can also join our Patreon page or buy us a coffee at the link in all of our video descriptions below. We are also looking for sponsors. If you want our latest advertising rates and how you can get involved, then email John at nufcmatters1892@gmail.com. Thanks.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true. And it feels alright when they come and say to you, you're the only thing that makes us all believe.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Wraith. That is the three Amigos, and welcome to George, Mitch and Steve. Welcome to you at home. Good to see everybody bright and early in the chat. We were slightly late because we were trying to get technical things sorted out with a guest who we've got coming on in the next half an hour. But as always, this is the perfect way to kickstart your Newcastle United weekend. And Newcastle, of course, taking on Leeds United, which we will be looking at a little bit later on today in the show. We've got a few of your favourites coming up as well. But let's start with a question which was put into the chat nice and early from James Slater. And I'll just start with your question, James. Is this the best transfer window, George, of all time as a Newcastle fan? I was thinking of this today, to be honest. And bearing in mind all the misery and doom and gloom we've had to deal with over the course of the summer, mainly because of one player who looks like he soon could be an ex-player. When you look at the players that we've actually brought in, George, we needed a keeper, and I mentioned this a couple of times over the last few weeks. We brought in Ramsdale, we brought in Malik Chow, we brought in Ramsey, we brought in Walter Maida, who's obviously passed his medical in the last hour or so. We brought in Alanga. Essentially, you know, we could bring in Wissa before the window finishes as well. We've made a few great signings this window. I mean, probably one of the best windows I can remember, probably in the takeover era, probably up there or level with the very first one, which kept us up.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, you lads know I've been bleating on about how upset I was the way people were reacting over the fact that they've strengthened here, they've strengthened there, we haven't strengthened there. Oh, we've got no chance. We're gonna be lower than the middle of the league and all this. So, you know, I've just let that wash over my head. My attitude's always been, let the people that are sort it out, like they did when the takeover took over. I mean, this young centre forward coming in, isn't it reminiscent of how Isak came in? You know, he came in as nearly an unknown, and suddenly we had a great player on our hands. This lad seems to be coming in as well, and looks like something that our coaches will work with. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of months he's the big hero. So I agree with you, Steve. I think it's been a great window. In fact, I would say that if we got one more attacking player in, either a striker or an attacking midfielder, if it's Wissa, it is, but I'm not sure about that because that looks like it's stuck in the mud. It would be one of the best windows, if not the best window, because it compares very favourably to what we had at the beginning, you know, with Bruno and Trippier Isaac, and then not long after Botman. You know, they all just slid in very quietly and were announced as signing. And that same process seems to have happened again. So I'm absolutely delighted. And if you go through the list of things we were saying on here, and people in the chat were saying, we need strength in here, we need strength in there, we need goalkeeper, we need centre back, we need this, we need that. It's all been given. All slots have been filled as far as I'm concerned, and filled with more than good players, filled with excellent players in most cases. I've got to say that the way in which the new centre half, Chow, slotted in when he got his chance on Monday against Liverpool, it was like he'd been there forever. You know, he's just like a well-oiled machine. And Ramsey looks like he could be the buy of the window, because I've got a feeling he not only could give us some extra pizzazz in midfield, it wouldn't surprise me if he added a couple of goals as well, because he seems to have that in his locker. So I'm absolutely delighted with the window, Steve. And as I say, we get another one, I'd have to agree with you, that's as good a window as we've ever had.
Interesting. Himanshu in the chat asked, are you growing a tash? Are you growing a tash because of the new signing, Mitch?
I am growing a tash. It's not because of the new signing. It's just, you know, I'm just scared at how much bloody grey is in it.
Welcome to my world. Go on, mate. What do you think of the window? Is it one of the best you've seen in your time as a supporter?
For the German speakers out there, ich habe einen riesigen Ständer. So yes, I'm very pleased with the window. And we preach this all along, but it's really easy to say, particularly with all the other sideshows and shite that's surrounding it and the white noise. Judge it at the end of the window. Judge it when the window's closed. Because we know how this works with transfer windows. Yes, it would be a dream to get all your business done early. That seems to be only for the very few. And we'll not go into that. We'll probably go over bits of it all night, but we know why. And we know who's behind all of that. We've benefited from other people's PSR problems. The fact that I'm here in Villa may still have to sell somebody else at the minute. I think just for me, should put the final nail into any type of PSR for the Premier League, or at least should lead to a massive review in terms of, can we not adjust it for inflation of prices and inflation itself and inflation of the prices you're paying for players? You compare that to, say, the NFL's salary cap, which in a 10-year period has doubled, gone from 140 odd million to 280 odd million, and ours hasn't changed. That's absolutely ridiculous. We asked for certain positions to be strengthened, and that's now happening. I'm seeing quite clearly there's potential for another couple of players to come in yet. I don't think we're done.
Yeah.
And then we come to the Swedish elephant in the room. And I think he's going to be left on the naughty step. I really believe that. I really believe that there's still stuff that we are not privy to, things that don't add up, things that just don't make sense. It's quite clear the information being given out and the comment from Isaac's camp is clearly from Isaac's camp, but not necessarily from the individual himself. And I think that's still very telling. We've heard nothing from him in person himself. And so I think we stand firm. We've quietly got about signing players. And, you know, the when they come out with the blue, like yesterday's, timed with the excitement of the Champions League draw, what a fillip for us.
Yeah.
And yes, it's frustrating being without a proper number 9, looking like for the first 3 games of the season is certainly hamstrung our start. But there's so many positives that we're carrying out with things now. And now making the right moves, it seems, in the transfer market. There's a hell of a lot to look forward to. And so you can't really fault them for making things happen. Because we've had to make things happen. There's a hell of a lot of hard work gone into these signings. And like I say, it wouldn't surprise me to see a couple more.
Okay, Steve, the question was simple from James. Is this one of the best windows you've seen as a Newcastle fan? Seems bizarre saying that, doesn't it? A week on from the doom and gloom we probably had on last week's show.
It's been one of the most traumatic. I think it's been one of the most difficult as a supporter to go through, because expecting to follow in Eddie's word of getting all the business done early, and then to be hit with the bombshell of the Swedish mafia, we've suddenly ended up with some really, really good signings, which if Isak was still part of the fold, you would look at and go, this is absolutely tremendous. Having said that, I mean, any time you sign quality like Elanga, Ramsey, a goalkeeper that came right out of left field in Ramsdale, because obviously we were all hanging on for Trafford all the way through, Malik Chow, and then the new signing Waldemar and Young Park even from Korea. You look at those and you think, you know what, that's not a bad little setup. And as Mitch says, who's to say that it hasn't ended yet? So we're looking back now. You know, we've taken the blinkers off. We've got through the shock and the concern and the worry that we weren't going to get anyone, and we've made some really decent signings. Just something that Mitch mentioned there about Aston Villa. Mitch, if you remember, we did say, start of the year, and then rolled on the way through, that Villa were always going to be in trouble. I think by April they had a 91% wages to turnover, and that was completely unsustainable. So it shouldn't come as any surprise to anyone. Not only that, but they then bought Onana and they bought Malin, and then that pushed them way over. They paid ridiculously over the odds in terms of loans for Asensio, and they paid ridiculously over the odds for Rashford and Disasi. And you think, you know, it's their own fault. It's like they knew what was going on. They basically, their Champions League money's just gone straight up the wall, hasn't it? Thankfully, ours hasn't. You know, what we can look back on and say, this has been quite controlled. This is it's not contrived; it's controlled where our spending's gone. It looks like there's a bit of thought gone into it, and the timings have been probably, we could criticise and say we could have done with a couple of them in earlier. But then I look at the performance of the team on Monday, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that as we roll through the show. The team spirit is still very much there, so we have to think about it sensibly and rationally and say, yeah, a very, very good transfer window so far, and let's see if there's more to come.
Yeah, Barry, I'm going to disagree with you massively. He's putting a dampener on the signing, saying we paid £65 million for a German player who was signed on a free transfer last year. I trust in Eddie. I hope this works. Barry, try to be happy one night of this transfer window. Newcastle have signed a forward.
If we had wheels, she'd be a big.
Honestly, he's definitely proved in the Euros recently. That he is a good player, and he was told after
Germany's top scorer.
Yeah, in the under 21s. He might not be. He's 23. He fits the remit as well.
Yeah, and what I would add, mind, is he's not an out-and-out striker. He's not a target man. Despite everybody's going, he's a replacement for Isak. He's 6'6", 23-year-old, 17 goals last season. Has come out of nowhere. He's come so far out of nowhere that Bayern Munich wanted to buy him. Now Bayern Munich don't take fools. They obviously see him possibly as a ready-made replacement for someone like Harry Kane, or a foil for Harry Kane, someone to do his work, someone for Harry Kane to work off, because they've got a very, very good squad. So let's not put a dampener on the lad before he's even been in a black and white shirt. But the caveat is he's not an out and out striker. He's more known to play off somebody, and he's more of a number 10 than a number 9. If you want to use those numbers as positional. Obviously the squads now I'm just showing my age, but I think everybody knows what I mean.
Yeah, fully.
The thing I said on Monday night is, and I'll repeat again, if we'd spent all the money that Liverpool had and had that performance against us on Monday night, I'd have been very disappointed, I've got to tell you. Because in the second half, they looked like the ones with 10 men, not us. And that was with all that signings on. So, the window's been a good one and get better. Last thing about our Swedish friend, I can't help, I was gasping when, I don't know if it's the read John Dole Thomason's comment about him. He doesn't think he's fit enough to allow him to play 45 minutes in the next international. Now, what does that tell you about him? What does that tell you about him? Unfit to play for his national side.
Yeah, well, hopefully it won't be our problem, but I don't think Liverpool will get him on the cheap either. I think Liverpool are going to have to pay the amount, and if they don't, I think Neil's prediction of Mr. Isak sitting on the bench for the next 6 months could be coming into fruition. But we will wait and see. A lot can happen between now and Monday. Now, we know what George's opinion was of the Liverpool game, but we haven't got the opinions of Mitch and Steve. It's very rare by the time we get to the following week we want to talk about a game, but I think I'll be doing you two lads a disservice if we didn't ask you what you made of that game. No defeat is a pleasant one, Neil, but Christ, there were so many positives to take out of that. The only stat we got beat on, other than the result, of course, which is the most important, was the percentages of possession. 65% to 35%, I think it was, to Liverpool. But other than that, Newcastle were on top of the game.
Which is what you would expect from league champions against 10 men. Mm-hmm. You would think. That's not a surprising stat. I'm personally glad I've had a little bit of time to ruminate on everything and not be so reactionary.
Yeah.
I was fizzing immediately after and most of the day Tuesday. Didn't even want to watch a lot of it back. And then I've taken some time to take some things in, and a few things have happened this week in terms of reaction from both the media and again Liverpool's curated media, which I find fascinating. First of all, we left nothing on that pitch. Everybody who featured for Newcastle United left everything they physically could on that pitch apart from Gordon. And was that when enthusiasm spills over to something else? Probably. He seems to do this against Liverpool and Everton. He seems to want it far too badly. It's almost like a situation that Everton have with Pickford when they sometimes drop him against us because he just wants it too badly and it affects his mind on the game. However, I think we had a referee who was primed by the media for the atmosphere and went in with one thing in mind. On another night, that challenge on Bruno early on, it's two-footed, it's out of control, it's from behind, and he makes a scissor movement with his leg. That's a red card on another day. Yeah. And I don't care what anybody else says. And now I've seen it back. I'm more calm about it, but more of the opinion that on another day, with another club, that's a red card. Same with the so-called shoulder-to-shoulder and Harvey Barnes with Canati on a yellow. Well, if your shoulders have got fingers, then fine, but they don't. And there was hands on there. And again, that's a referee who bottled it. And there was at least two potential calls in the box where there was cuddling games going on with Dan Burn. And the referee seemed to sort that out by booking Dan Burn. Couldn't work that one out. And in the end, we're paid for our own enthusiasm. 30 seconds before they score the winner, we had 5 people in their box and we had 10 men. And, but I'm not going to knock them for trying. And I'm not going to knock them for doing that. I think nice cameo from Chow. I would have no problem him coming into the team. Now he's had a full week with them. I think that goal will do Asula the world of good. I really do. But then afterwards, the ridiculous clutching of pearls by the ultimate fanalist and Jamie Carragher about the banner, getting into them. Jamie, I'll remind you that banner's been, to my knowledge, at least at 5 or 6 other games. And one game, that would be the home game against PSG. The one where you and Big Meeks were in the crowd with American television, absolutely loving it. It's different when we're laying one on you and your lads, isn't it? You coward. In this, I'm not having that. And Arnie Slot, before the game, pretending he didn't know the name of St James's Park. And now after the game, telling where he didn't see a football match. Did you? You knew we were in a football match, son, and you'll not be in another football match like that until you play us again, promise you. And then today, being happy that Eddie's got his number 9. You stop mentioning our club, you absolute egg. Stay out of it. What on earth has it got to do with you? Unless you're trying to tap into Isaac yet again. You've been caught with your fingers in the cookie jar and you bloody well know it. And there's no amount of backtracking and curating the media is going to stop that. I hate that. People know you're exposed. There's people from other clubs are now sick of you. So, I've taken away a lot from that about that we could build on. You've got to look at the positives. And I think we've come away as a squad and as a unit and as a fan base ever more united than we have been. One thing I would be doing when bringing Isaac in for training on his own, I would make him sit through all 90 minutes or all 100 and odd minutes every day. Yeah. You did this. You did this. And we did this in spite of you. And we can do this without you. And it's your choice. And it just really, the guy is, I don't understand what thought process has led him to where he is. What I do know, I'd love to play poker against him because I'd clean him out quicker than the burglars have. He's got no poker face and he doesn't know when to go all in. And I think we've come out of it. It's amazing how sometimes in moments, these sliding doors moments, sometimes at the time when you're going through it, it seems horrendous and it seems terrible. But when that window closes, whether Isaac's still at the club or not, I think we'll look back at that time as the making of a new Newcastle United, something bigger than the sum of the parts that we already had. And if he's chosen to walk away from that, then that's the measure of the man, isn't it, really?
It certainly is. Steve, give us your take on that game.
I thought that as someone who was inside the ground, I thought I walked out after that 110 minutes or whatever it was, like every other Geordie in there. So proud of my team. So proud of my club. So proud of the badge. What we witnessed was probably one of the best performances that you'll see from 11 players on the pitch, reduced to 10 players on the pitch, and 49,000 people in the stand, all generating the most amazing atmosphere. We had a great atmosphere against PSG 2 seasons ago, but that was different atmosphere. For me, that atmosphere was very much one of euphoria. It was one of much saying to people who were back, we're in the Champions League. We didn't know how the game was going to pan out. we quickly did once we saw the way that the players went about their business. But this was something else. What we witnessed was very much us against them, and us against the world, and us against the Premier League, us against the transfer window, up against the PSR, the way that the club has been treated, the way that the press have rounded on us and humiliated us and done everything they could to belittle us as a football club. And for that, just for that pride alone, it made for a fantastic evening. I walked away, yes, disappointed, but at the same time, like I say, so proud. We talk about the tier. You know what? I get what you're saying about Anthony Gordon. He went into the challenge and then he decided, you know what, I'll just knock him over. And the way he went about it, if he had stayed on his feet and knocked him over, it wouldn't have mattered. But he flew in, and I think that he was looking back probably at what had happened to him the previous game with the same player, and I think there was an element of that. And he thought, I'll just leave a little bit on him. I thought it was clumsy, if nothing else. And if he hadn't have, on another day, the referee might have given it a yellow, but he got the red. And I don't think anyone in the crowd was disappointed or angered by it. And I don't think anyone could turn around and blame Anthony Gordon per se. I think it was just he is very much a plays with his heart on his sleeve type of player, 100%. He missed the cup final. He wanted something to prove against Liverpool, but at the same time, it was clumsy. It could have cost us. I don't think it did cost us in the end, because I think every other player then put in an extra 5% to make up for him and make up for the loss. I look at the goal. The comeback was tremendous. For a comeback from 2-0 down with 10 men and to get back to 2-2 against the champions, that says an awful lot for the team spirit. Something that we mentioned earlier, but just took my mind off it. That's at the very last moment. At any other time, you'd have said to Miley, just hoof the ball into the corner. But instead, he played the ball back to Pope. Now, and any given Monday night, Pope would have just cleared the lines and would have gone into the stand, and the clock would have ticked down. But instead, Pope fluffed his kick. The ball then went to Liverpool, and we were very much out of position and drawn all over the place with the quick passing, quick interplay. I thought Thiaw and Byrne got dragged over. That meant that Livramento got dragged over. And because of that, the young lad who everybody's raving about, saying it was a fantastic goal, let's face it, he was left completely unmarked. All he had to do was slot it past a completely static Nick Pope. Two of the goals, by the way, I thought he was static. He didn't move his feet at all. Something he needs to think about. He wasn't alert enough. It was very much I'll stand and wait type of decision that he made. And I think that if anything that was going to annoy us was that the manner in which we conceded. But then you listen to Arnie Slot, and you listen to the TV pundits, and it's like, the ball was only in possession for 40.8% of the game. That's the lowest the ball's been in play for 15 years and all that. For me, that was nothing to do with Newcastle United, who wanted to carry on playing the game at 90 miles. That was down to Liverpool. Liverpool's game management was down to slowing it down to make it suit and just try to hold on to the ball for long periods. They didn't go for the jugular at all, because I don't think they had the capability to go for the jugular. And I thought Slot has turned into a whinging, whining, big-headed fool. Last season, he came over as a humble guy. He came over as sort of, I'm new to this game. Thank you very much to the previous manager. I've just inherited his team. I've just carried on. Now all of a sudden he spent 250 million quid, and it's like he's turned into what a poor man's version of Mourinho in the manner in which he went on. It was completely ridiculous. And his press conferences are getting more and more playing to a gallery of Liverpool fans who have this air of sort of inevitability that everything that they want, they're gonna get. And as Mitch says, talking about our team, I tell you what was funny. You talk about them not knowing the name of St James's Park. I tell you what, everybody else in Europe knows the name St James's Park. If the Champions League draw last night was anything to go by, every time Newcastle United was mentioned, they're going to St James's Park. They're going to St James's Park. Every time the team came out of that, they're going to St James's Park. And you're thinking, why is that? There was no other. I think the only other ground that was mentioned was the Velodrome down at Northsea. Nobody mentioned anything else. There was no Stadio dell'Alpi or anything like that. No mention of Anfield. No mention of the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium or the Emirates Stadium. Nothing like that. It was the only ground that kept getting mentioned was St James's Park, and that for me, whether that was done on purpose by the particular presenter, or that whoever wrote a script, or whether it was just an ad lib, but you know what, that for me, that put Arnie Slot back in his place. He'll not be coming out with statements like that anymore, because if he does, he's just going to be made to look a fool.
Yeah.
If you don't mind us adding something on quickly, we had 100 out on Monday night in Dubai.
Wow.
On a school night, 11 o'clock
at night.
Yep. And the lads and lasses I was sat with, I'll tell you, when the second went in, I was drained. I was quite down. I feel quite exhausted because we've had no break from talking about all of it over the summer and over the transfer window. There's been no respite, even though we had that week off. We've had no respite from all of it, and I felt really quite drained. And what that second half performance is given me, it's kick-started me back into overdrive in terms of thoughts about what we can do on NUFC Matters and what I can write for the fanzine and where we can go with different things. And I think if I can be reinvigorated by that, what must be happening in the dressing room, God only knows.
Yeah. Well said, mate.
The reason I was hurrying Mitch on is because I've got a guest. Most of you in the chat knew about this because we give it a bit of a plug before it took place. But I'm bringing in Jimmy Turrell. How are you, Jimmy?
Hi, lads. How's it going?
Good to see you, mate.
First off, I'm a fan of the show, but secondly, I could not mirror your all your points enough. You know what I mean? I think this has been a belting window, whatever people want to say, and I think the game the other day, I've been to some games in my life, but I don't think there's ever been a synergy between the fans and the players on the pitch as much as that game, because it was just electric. It was a bit aggy. Do you know what I mean? And I think I came up with that never being more proud of my team and my city. Do you know what I mean? So fair dues to us. I love this city so much, and that's the soppy bit of the way.
Well said, Jimmy. Well said, Jimmy. And I've got to say, mate, and I'm sure that everybody in the chat who went along to the exhibition at the Baltic, see us Geordies are cultured. We do like a bit of art. I think we're very proud of you, mate, because what you managed to pull off and put together with the help of the Baltic, was fantastic. The road to Wembley, I'll never get sick of talking about that road to Wembley and that cup run, because it was the first one that I've seen as a supporter. If you take away the Japan Cup and the Intertoto Cup and the Cellar Cup, that's all I've actually seen. I've been on the road to Wembley a couple of times, but I've always left crying. But Jimmy, exactly. And I know that's the same with everybody else. But amazing, mate. It was amazing, and like I said, people got a chance to go along the Baltic and just relive the moment with the artwork. I just want to ask you, how did it come about, Jimmy?
Listen, for a start, though, Steve, it wasn't just me, man. It was the amazing photographers from Newcastle. You know what I mean? I have to mention Serena Taylor, Harriet Massey, Michelle Mercier. They're the photographers. I just sort of chose the shots. But me and another photographer, one of the best British photographers of this century, a guy called Ewan Spencer, who's from Gossey. Me and him had to look through 10,000 shots to get it down to 70, basically. and it was that in itself was a mission. But we went and done a recce down there to look at the space, and it was just cavernous, you know. We're like, Jesus, how are we going to fill this thing? I mean, you could take out all 10,000 shots and put them in there, and it wouldn't have filled the space up. So we just had like the guys from War Flags. We had the lad Juno, who did all the stuff in Korea, brought all of his stuff across. Then I took Ewan shots and that he did for the Adidas shoot for the kit launch last year, and I did the big mural on the wall. And basically, that was a existential crisis I had the night before. Me and my dad up on a cherry picker, thinking this isn't going to work, man. I'm being interviewed tomorrow about this, and like it doesn't exist. Do you know what I mean? And look, North company interviews about it. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but it's been fantastic, man. It's been amazing.
Did you have a favourite part of the exhibition? I mean, I've got to be honest, your mural was superb. I love the little quotes. And
then Will Knight, he picked out, poor guy had to pick all them quotes out of millions of articles. He went through everything. He went from a graphic designer to like a journalist in like one day, you know. Yeah, my favourite part, I'll tell you what the weird thing is, Steve. Like, I'm from the Baker Wall, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it was just seeing families and kids down there from similar backgrounds to me who maybe would never have been in North Carolina before. Do you know what I mean? I know for a fact there was kids in there who'd never been to the Baltic. They didn't know what the Baltic was. Yeah. And they live in America, which is like 5 minutes away, you know. So there was that, and because it was so full, they were visiting stuff on the other floors, which were actual proper art, you know what I mean? And like, even if one of them kids can get turned on and is kind of really like, just, wow, what is this? From the other floors, that's great. But on the whole, it was just seeing how people responded. And not to get too soppy again, but I seen a few people crying. Do you know what I mean? And I was sat outside there on the steps, and I seen this lass come out, and she was speaking to my husband. She goes, I wish my dad could have seen this, you know. And like, that made me want to go on. Do you know what I mean? But like, there was a couple of moments. And so, yeah, overall, this exhibition wasn't just about photography. It was about identity. It was about belonging, and it was about shared moments. Because we've all lost people who didn't see anybody gone like that with a cup once in their life, and because we're Newcastle and England fans. So that was for us probably the best. I was with my mum and dad in my living room when that moment happened, and I'll just never forget it. You know, for a lot of people, it's a similar vibe.
Lovely touch as well to have the cup there, Jimmy.
Well, you know, that was almost like the moment where we had this photography, and I was like, we need to fill this space up, and how are we going to get people down? And as soon as, I'm not going to lie, man, as soon as the cup was mentioned, I was like, job's a good one, you know, we're in here. Because that pulled people in, and then it was like, all right, so they're going to see the photography as well, and then War Flags, like that really helped. It was like this cavernous space, it really filled it up, you know. So we had like all the other stuff as well, but it's been a whirlwind, and I'm knackered, but it's probably been the best exhibition I've ever had in my life, you know.
Got a few comments coming in before I ask Steve if he's got anything to say, because I know Steve went along the same as me. Mozza, who went with Alan, says, Jimmy, it was amazing, very proud, well done. Denise says, wow, hearing how it was put together makes it even more appreciative, and thanks for having Jimmy on and listening to his insight. What a treat. Roger Cook is blown away by the emotion that you're showing now. Dean is in the chat as well. He says, as Gav Webster says, I'm a fan of art, especially like the one of the dogs playing snooker. Class. And Denise says, great to see you on the panel. The Road to Wembley art display was amazing. Thank you for that. So lots of positivity in the chat, mate, because of what what was put together by you and the photographers. Steve, have you got anything to say to Jimmy about the exhibition? You went along the same as me.
Yeah, I have, Steve. I thought it was fantastic. I love the blend of photographic art mixed with the graffiti art, mixed with the journey, the quotes, everything that was really, really well put together. It's slotted in so well. I thought the graffiti art was absolutely tremendous. Some of those posters and designs. I mean, you know, people would have them on their living room wall, guaranteed. You know, they were absolutely spot on. I've got a friend who's a bit of a graffiti artist, artiste. I don't know. He probably would know his lad called Dash Williams, who works out the biscuit factory or the biscuit tin. And it's very similar to the sort of thing he does with the overlays and all of that, and a little bit of Banksy, a little bit of originality, perfect originality. I'm not saying it's Banksy at all. I'm saying it had its own stamp on. I like that the fact that they brought in, just chucked off at the side, some of the drawings and poster art from Korea. I thought that was a really, really nice touch, and I thought they were beautiful as well. All in all, it was a fabulous thing. Really, really well put together. Well done. And I love the idea that we were walking through the competition. We're walking through each leg. And then you stop and you saw a little photograph from that and a little bit of script, and you followed the line. And I was following the line on the floor, as well, not just the line on the wall.
Will Knight put all that together. But when I first went in there, I was like, oh, this is so slow. Is this going to be like a dull exhibition? But it made everybody consider each shot, in a way. It wasn't planned that way. That's just how it happened. There's so many people there. But it was like, what did that shot mean? What did that shot mean? What did that shot mean? And it was so hard to pick because there was so many great shots that got left on the cutting room floor. I mean, there was shots of like Sandro or Pizza, and there was quite obvious shots there. We could have done a million of people holding the cup up. We're almost looking for the in-between moments of especially with fans. I've always loved fans making their own art. So whether it was the woman with the hat, with all the badges on top of it, or just even like parochial parts in Newcastle or North Tyneside, Wickham Mags, or making their own flags and stuff like that. That to me just shows true passion in a way. So it was it was a bit of a dream, man. I'm not gonna lie. It was everything I've ever loved about art and my club just kind of came together. I just want to sleep for a month now,
I mean, last couple of questions before we let you crack on, mate. Have you been surprised at the response? I mean, you touched on it there with the emotions and stuff, and bringing new people into a space like the Baltic. But have you been surprised? And I mean, I think I posted something on Instagram. You and I are pals on there, and I'd basically posted the queue on the morning that I went along, and I noticed you'd seen it. You probably just were blown away by that, thinking, "Wow."
I had a bit of a meltdown, I was coming across the Millennium Bridge, and I was like, oh, what we've done here, man. There's going to be so many complaints. Because Newcastle supporters are emotional, man. And I was feeling it because it was hot. It was hot in there as well. And I was like, oh, this is just going to be just the message board is going to be we're hating this, we're stood in the queue. But I never heard a bad response. Let's put it that way. People were very patient and just waiting in line. And when they come out, like I said, I've seen people crying and stuff. Whether they were crying because they were pissed off with the whole thing, but they just seem to really like it. And I think one thing that really stood out to me is what we have to do as a city is that we forget that we're such a creative city. We get stereotyped as thick northerners, miners, coal miners, Geordie Shores, all of that nonsense. You know what I mean? We've got so much talent in this city creatively. I lived in London for 15 years and I came back to this city. And the city I left wasn't the one I was coming back to. It's got the amazing galleries, restaurants, clubs, you know what I mean? And I'm so proud to be from here. And what I would say is now, all of my jobs that I'm doing at the minute, I've just done Kasabian's last album. I've worked with the Stones. I've worked with AC/DC, the last 3 jobs. And I've just used Geordie. And that's going forward. That's it. It's game over. I'm not using anybody else because the pool of talent here is insane. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's what it's taught me, this whole thing. The videographers who shot me creating the work are all tourist-based. You don't have to go to London to get them guys. Yeah. So surprised by the response? Yes and no in some ways, you know what I mean? Surprised. Maybe, like I said before, maybe it was because the cup was there, but I think the after effect of people coming out and seeing them talking about art and talking about culture is important, It's arty-farty stuff, as people might call it. It's how do you think your strip's designed? How do you think the bridge is built? How do you think your whole ethos of your club is built? Well, black and white for a reason. Somebody designed that. Somebody come up with a sketch for that. Yeah. Am I going on a bit? I don't know.
No.
Big gun, mate.
So good, Jimmy.
Can I just ask you, Jimmy? You know the film, the match that they showed in the little cinema. Who edited that? Because it was edited down to 45 minutes approximately.
That was nothing to do with me, mate. I must admit.
Was that the club? Was it?
Step out of.
Was that the club? Was it?
I think so. Like, but if it's a positive thing or a negative thing, I had
no. It's very much a positive.
On the cherry picker.
Take it, because I'm saying it's a positive. Because the reason I'm asking is, if anyone, for me, that's the sort of thing that should be played in the club shop window for the next 3 years. To get everybody a chance to watch. And also, the reason I enjoyed it was because, and Mitch hasn't seen it obviously, but I'm sure he'll be able to reflect on what I'm saying.
Our Joss has been, and he loved it, mate. I've spoken to our Joss about it.
You know what it was like,
absolutely
Mitch?
loved it.
Do you remember the old World Cup films that you used to do, the 1970 World Cup, the 74?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what it was it wasn't the view from the normal TV camera, the normal gantry.
Right.
It was those side shots. It was those under shots from the side, from behind the goal, where you see a totally different sort of frame to a move. You see, you're up close and personal almost, and that for me, that's something.
That you on about where the match was in the cafe, like the actual pub part of it.
It was in it was in the little. There was like a little cinema to the side.
Yeah, it was basically ground level, wasn't it? It was ground level in the match.
Absolutely, and you get a totally different perspective. But that was very much the way that those old World Cup
films, what he sees in a way. It's what the management see, And you realise
totally different perspective. But
just need to just stiff up a little lip voiceover with "We want girls."
Yeah. Well done. Good luck to the other team. Well done.
Last question, then, Jimmy. Go on, Mitch.
The way football can become a common denominator for everybody.
Yes, mate.
Bring them all back to the same level.
Exactly.
When we're stood on the terraces, does anybody give an absolute monkeys that I'm a fellow with the Royal College of Surgeons? Nah. Doesn't matter if he's got a CBE. Nah.
Yeah.
We're all together. We're all as one, united. That's the way it should be. Absolutely. And we're going to all talk about it in the pub after, and we're going to all come on to shows like this and talk about it. But what you're tapping into is that culture that's always been around football. It's been music, it's been fashion, it's been art at different times and in different ways, and it's something we all... Reason I'm sitting in a bloody Free Strike T-shirt yet again tonight. We all have these things that we tap into that comes back to football and comes from football.
Yes, man.
And it becomes a great unifier when it's done right.
Unbelievable.
It becomes a fantastic power for good. Think of the food bank that Steve and everybody was part of founding. All coming out of football and that culture of football. And it should be celebrated. And we're in a world where certainly politicians are all too quick to have a go at football fans, but a root of all evil for some of them.
Yeah.
And yet you look at what comes out of football when people work together and put something like this together. And you're right about talent in the region, Jimmy, massively so. And the same I say, Newcastle as a city grew up as I grew up, and I'm so proud of that. And now I live away from there. When I look back at Newcastle and when I come back home, and it suddenly dawns on us I'm having a pint in an area in Newcastle. When I was a kid, if I was there, I was probably up to no good. And now you cannot move for Michelin stars and £500,000 apartments.
Yeah.
And I'm all for it.
Aye.
I'm absolutely all for it. And I will celebrate that all day long.
The fine balance of gentrification and
absolutely.
Like Shields Road in Baker, that's where I'm from. It needs a little bit of gentrification at the minute. It could do.
And I'm very proud to be out here and use the accent I've got, because that's how I speak. And I make no apologies about it. And I'm very proud to represent the region and always have been. And, to see somebody building something like this that's tangible, that reaches more than the heart and mind and the soul, it's phenomenal, mate. Well done.
Thanks, mate.
And the over 50 years,
I'll tell you
one. The over 50 years of students I had through the university, if I could have got every end of each year, if I could have got 60 jobs in Newcastle, none of them would have went home. Doesn't matter where they came from, Korea, Singapore, China, Greece, France. they were all stayed. None of them would have went home. And now I can travel anywhere in the world. And I've got former students who would welcome us with open arms, look after us and all the rest of it. And one of the common denominators is football. They all loved the football. When Keegan was the manager, my admissions and requirements into the university, I used to get about 600 or 700 applications. When Keegan was my manager, it went up to nearly 2,000. And that's all gone out all over the world, and the common dominant denominator as football. And in terms of politicians, the work I did with the Home Office, sometimes the coffee times I had with very important people like Home Secretaries, Jack Straw, and the Michael Howard, the Tory, could talk to them all day because guess what? They loved the football. They loved the football, and all the little hangers on, all the civil servants used to have to keep their gob shut when Straw or Howard were talking football.
Couple of points. Nicholas says, "Could Jimmy paint NUFC skinheads on Death Alley at the back of the corner?" He's trying to give you some.
I'm then.
Mark Byers says, he says, "Can you become Lord Mayor of Newcastle?" You're making him homesick, he says. He's in America anyway. But lots of people giving you lots of praise, Jimmy, and it is well deserved, which is the reason I reached out to you and asked if you would come on tonight. I mean, you've already said...
I'm always tuned in, so...
Oh, thank you, mate. What is next then? You're busy with albums. You've done some great stuff. Anything exciting that you can share with us? Any other new? That's giving you a thirst for maybe doing another Newcastle project, or are you going to wait until we win the FA Cup at the end of the season?
Wouldn't that be beautiful? Without with Big Nick up front instead, I've got a few things coming up. You know what I mean? I've had to do like NDAs and all that nonsense.
Yes.
I think. I'll tell you what, it's less to do with me, mate, to be honest. It's more to do with, I think, the club maybe should move into. And it's to do with, you look at like how art and culture exists. You look at Manchester, right? Manchester is a city, northern city, you know what I mean? Like, people's imagination of it probably 20 years ago was, like a grey city, Cottonopolis, all of that sort of stuff. They've kind of reinvented themselves in a lot of ways, you know what I mean? And they've made themselves a destination city. Newcastle, with the right money put in, let's not beat around the bush, that's what it means, you know what I mean? A bit of finance put in there, can be one of them cities. And it can be places, like I think we've got the talent here. And the club, I think, are up for it. I really think they're up for it. I think the success of this exhibition, not blow my own trumpet, because basically I just picked some photos out. Do you know what I mean? The club in the Baltic blazed it. They were amazing. And I think the next level is just to keep going, is to keep reaching higher and make this city cool. Because we're a cool city, or an underlying cool city. People don't even realize it. But that's music, art, fashion. All these beautiful creators exist here. And we've just got to use this pool, and dip into it and make sure that we're putting out like amazing, art and content. I think it's we're going to see it. I feel like we're going to see it. So that's what's next. I've got a couple of little things happening, but like I think it's more important to make a point about this club, how much we love this club. It's electrifying. That game the other day, I can't even say it enough. I mean, I came out of there. My brother's the lead singer in a band called Jimmy Turrell, and he's done gigs before, and he goes, Jim, I've never had that feeling that the hairs on the back of my neck like I just had. And that kind of closes it for me. It's like that's where we are. We've got a great season coming towards us. I think it's not. Wow. We've all been doom and gloom with this summer, but like just because we didn't get things done early, I agree with Mitch. I think we could get a couple in last couple of days of the window. So let's see, man.
Yeah, listen, Jimmy, great to have you on. Go on, Steve.
All I was going to say, Jimmy, I just hope that you've inspired loads of other people, because there are, like you say, the talent's out there. But I think you will have inspired lots of other people. Those listening to the show, but just those who see that exhibition, and I think you might get inundated with people asking, "How can I do this? What can I do? What can I do? How do I go about it?"
Well, I'm willing. Anybody who wants to work with me, or wants to do, I'm up for it. If you,
Jimmy, if I could just say, if my Marjorie was still here, you'd have a very willing helper. She was a great artist, the watercolor artist in her own right, as is the young man sitting to your right. We've sat in a footsie gallery, for example, during my summer holidays, and just take a artist book with her paints, and she'd be copying one of the old masters. And somebody from God knows where would come behind and say, "Oh, I love that." And Marjorie would say, "Oh, would you like it?" And she'd tear it out of her book and give it to them. So there's Marjorie Mitchell pictures all over the bloody world.
Fantastic. Have you got a YouTube? Where can people find your work, Jimmy? Have you got YouTube? Somebody asked, but I mean, you're on Instagram.
Yeah, just Jimmy Turrell on Instagram. So JIMMYTURRILL on Instagram, and then jimmyturrell.com. That's my website. But,
great stuff.
Yeah.
Well, listen, well done again, mate. Please pass on our thanks to everybody as well who was involved. I know it wasn't a one-man show, but it was a great effort.
If it had been up to me, there would have been like one drone of Tenali in there. You know what I mean? Trust us.
Well, have a great weekend. Pass on my best to your kid, Jimmy Turrell as well. Give them a check out if you've never listened to them. I love promoting music, and they're one of the best local bands, still going strong. So many good tunes, so many good albums. So make sure you look for them on Spotify or wherever else you get your music. But Jimmy, have a good weekend, mate, and let's hope it's 3 points over the weekend. See you soon, mate.
Big cheers, Jimmy.
Real Jimmy.
Great to have Jimmy on. Thank you to everybody for making him welcome. The comments were fantastic as well. Great stuff. We will have a quick break and we will be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at their website, skipsandbins.com. Contact them at www.skipsandbins.com/contact. Say hello to low-cost waste disposal with pay-as-you-go and contract waste management. A big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces, handmade in Cumbria. You can find them at their website, mrvickies.co.uk, email info@mrvickies.co.uk, or telephone 01768 210 102. Thanks to our fanzine sponsor, United Group Travel. There are no strangers on our tours, just friends you haven't met yet. 2 crew driver and courier, local family company, 3-star plus quality hotels and no interchanges. Hot and cold snacks and drinks available on the coach. All excursions included. Their website, unitedgrouptravel.com. Email beverly.ugtl@gmail.com. Telephone 01670 632 460 or 0791 666 4174. Just £30 per person deposit. Thanks to Media Arts for all the help with the technical side of things. And if you like listening to us as a podcast, you can go to Sports Social Podcast Network or to iTunes, Spotify, or other podcast providers. If you want to support the show, then hit the subscribe button. It's free. We do 7 shows a week. Hit the little thumb up under the video, which is the like button, or click share to share to your social media. You can also join the channel on YouTube by hitting the join button for as little as $1.99 a month. If you want to become an NUFC Matters member, you can go to nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. It's a £25 one-off fee. You get your pen, you get your badge, a key ring, you get your beer mat and your fridge magnet and your membership card, nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk for that. And we have an event early next year, 13th of February 2026, an evening with Beardsley, Waddle and Gascoigne takes place at the Tyne Theatre and Opera House. To buy your tickets for that event, go to the box office 0191 243 1171 or Tyne Theatre and Opera House.uk. And don't forget as well, a couple of days left to get your order in for NUFC Matters fanzine for this season. 4 issues for £25. That includes your postage. They'll be posted out to you intermittently, but all proceeds going to Age UK North Tyneside. So please subscribe to the fanzine. I've just had another order come in there. I think we're up to 70 now, so we're still still 30 away from the magic 100 that I would like to get to. But if you are going to do it, please do it in the next 2 days. Your support would be appreciated. Thanks to Jeff for the donation to the Malverno Fund, and big apologies to everybody who we couldn't get through with the comments, but got through most of them for the wonderful guest we've just had on, Jimmy. And Koal has gone to Sparta Prague, permanent, great move for him, says Mark Byers. That must have been breaking, which I've missed. And if you are watching on Twitter, please jump over to YouTube, search NUFC Matters and hit the subscribe button. We do 7 shows a week. We've got 2,300 of you watching live tonight. Big thank you to everybody for tuning in. We never take it for granted. I'm going to stay on transfers, lads, because the window closes, of course, next week. And Craig Hope is reporting, according to Gary here, that Wolves are leaving Strand Larson out of the Everton game tomorrow and Brentford are leaving Wisser out. Are we still going to buy both, George? What's your thoughts? Do you think we'll get one or the other or both?
Well, I'd like to say we get... I thought what Neil said was very sensible. Two wouldn't surprise me. There happens to be 2 attackers. Great, absolutely great. And can you imagine the absolute panic in penalty areas when we get corners or free kicks if we had Larson and the new guy all in the box along with Dan Burn and Fabian Shaw? Dear me, I think we've become deadly at dead balls to put the coin of phrase. So yeah, I think it's every bit likely that we'll get at least 1 and possibly 2. And if it was those 2, I'd be absolutely delighted. The Larson one's a funny one. Is it because of the transfer speculation, or they're calming him down, or what? I don't know. But he looks good as well. You know, untried, but looks very, very dangerous in parts. And we know Wiss has a flyer, lots of pace, which would complement what we've got already. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we got a couple more. The other, I think I said earlier, the other thing that I wouldn't mind seeing is another midfielder, but an attacking midfielder, somebody who could take things forward. But another couple in, whatever they were, would be absolutely brilliant. It would be the best window by a long way.
Okay, what's your thoughts, Mitch, on the 2 of them? Both left out for a variety of reasons. We know that Wisser wants to come to Newcastle, but we're being led to believe from Craig Hope in particular that Larson does as well. So Newcastle, are they going to go for both?
Nothing would surprise me now.
Yeah,
after what they've just done, nothing. The comments last week publicly by Jamie Rubin, with almost like a quiet confidence, like, look, we're working on things, we're going to get through this kind of thing. He obviously knew, and almost wonder have they timed it that on the day that we're at the Champions League draw, we'll make the striker signing, and isn't it just a wonderful day all around, where everybody and their dog seems to be talking about Newcastle United across Europe. Statement of the power of the club. And isn't that a message necessarily to somebody who's sitting at home on his own playing on his Xbox? Very probably. I think if we were to sign both of those, then I do think that maybe that they've found a solution for somebody to exit stage left and with an acceptable amount of income in. Which something we've always counselled the club have got to be is we've got to be better sellers. You know, if you want to play with Chelsea, you've got to sell like Chelsea as well as buy like Chelsea. And that's very new to us. But we seem to be being linked with what I would call proper players now. It's quite fascinating. All of a sudden, that now we're sort of off and running. It's not so much about, we're not hearing TalkSport saying that Newcastle's a difficult place to sell and it's a difficult place to go and live and all of that kind of tripe. So let's see. As the countdown comes to the window, right now, we seem to be still very much in play on very different fronts, and nothing would surprise me.
Steve, are you in the same mindset?
I am, Steve. What I found amazing over the last, since Monday, actually, since it was reported that Newcastle, a delegation from Newcastle had met Alexander Isak, what I've found fascinating is how certain reporters have changed their spin somewhat, changed their words, changed their outlook slightly. How, despite the fact that for God knows how long we've heard that the chairman, Mr. Al Ramayan, or His Excellency, as some people call him, has stated that Alexander Isak is not for sale, they have constantly drummed up this in the last week and a half that it's been Newcastle who have encouraged Liverpool. But I don't know how this has came about. And they've been delving into the words and the framework of statements that Newcastle have come out and trying to find holes in it, trying to find, pointers that are like almost subliminal to them allow them to say something. Words like open to exploring the sale. That's the byline now that's being used by Craig and by Ben Jacobs and by Ornstein and Romano and Alex Crook on TalkSport. All five of them are using that line now. That line was never, ever the line. And for one reporter to start using it, yeah. Two, that's a little bit cheap because you're stealing somebody else's byline. But when all five of them are using exactly the same line, while at the same time dismissing any talk that Liverpool have done anything to upset the apple cart with Newcastle United, is quite frankly scandalous, And then they come out and said that the conditions, apparently we said the conditions need to be met, but we didn't say what the conditions were. That's our fault, apparently. Well, they're now saying that the conditions that we didn't say and didn't outline, they've decided that's 2 strikers in. And they've decided that it's 120 million, despite reports saying it was 150. I heard it was 200 plus. I heard it was 150 million plus to anyone in Europe. And if it was Liverpool, who were the only team in town from the Premier League, it was 200 plus. And Newcastle have held the line. We're now 3 days before the end of it. And yet they were saying that Liverpool, it was low ball, but it wasn't. It's 120 should do it. Newcastle should settle for 130. We're getting statements like this coming in as though we're supposed to do a favour to Liverpool, And I think there's a mindset inside Newcastle United, and I'm not saying it's from Eddie Howe, but I suspect there's a mindset from inside the football club and inside the boardroom that matters, which is saying, you know what? We're pumping all this money in. And if Alexander Isak doesn't want to play ball, then we'll take the ball off him and he can sit at home for the next 6 months and he can watch his career go down the pan. And if he doesn't come in for training, we'll fine him every time he doesn't turn up. And if he's not making himself available to play, we'll fine him as well. And we'll end up in the courts and we'll end up fleecing him and taking every single penny off him. And if that's what it means and that's what we have to do, I'm all for it. Because why? Because it's about time that somebody stood up in football and stopped this ridiculous charade that transfers create, that all of the rules that get broken, that is allowed in the press to be seen as acceptable, even though it's breaking the rules, the tapping up procedures, etc. Look how Tottenham backed off. Look how they scared witless because they thought it was going to cost them money. And there's no doubt in my mind that the same thing happened to Liverpool when they suddenly came in with 110. They knew that was going to get nowhere near 110. They did it because Newcastle United were going to fleece them. It was panic on their behalf, and it was a cover-up. So I'm all for it happening. Could we go and get 2 more strikers? No reason why not. Other clubs have sitting there with strikers and only playing 2 or only playing 1 at a time. Manchester United went and bought Mbeumo. They bought the lad from Wolves, and they bought another striker in Sesko while they've still got Højlund. While they've still got Sancho. The clubs are allowed to have 4 and 5 strikers. Why can't we? Why are we only allowed to have 1? I'd like to see another midfielder in there. I think if anything happened on Monday night that scared me, it was the fact that we looked as though we were losing Tonali for a few weeks. It looked as though we were losing Joe Linton for a few weeks. We had a midfield that was being held together by Bruno. And with the best will in the world, I don't think we could have gone into tomorrow's game with a midfield of Miley and Willock alongside Bruno and be hopeful of getting anything. And if there was a possibility that was then going to be our midfield without Anthony Gordon for 3 games and having to slot in somebody on the left-hand side and down the middle, that would have put the fear of God into me, because all of a sudden we could have been slipping and slipping and slipping. So that tells me that our midfield, in my perspective, is not good enough. And I'm hoping that we can do something in that particular area. One of the players I might have looked at would have been Douglas Luiz, but Nottingham Forest did a fantastic job in picking him up. He might have been the sort of player. Maybe we need someone who can put their foot in. Maybe we need someone who can drive forward in the manner that Tonali does, because I don't think the players that we've got have that in them. I wouldn't be surprised if the likes of a Joe Willock left and created a space for someone else to come in. I think we're now all of a sudden we've grown a pair big enough there to be able to go out and say, you know what, we can do whatever we like in the transfer market. We're not going to be hanging on the back of Liverpool deciding that we can't do anything until they decide to make a bid for one of our players. And this idea that Liverpool will do nothing unless they get a signal from us gets stuffed.
Okay, there's the address for the fans in nufcmatterspodcast.co.uk. I've just got 4 orders in a row there. Big thank you to everybody who is supporting us. It means a lot. And time for a few of these. If you are easily offended, go and put the kettle on. Let's start off with a couple of Star Wars pictures. Only Star Wars fans will see it.
Brilliant.
And I asked for a fast pizza and they delivered this. The pepperoni falcon. No, that's class.
Pepperoni falcon.
That's brilliant. Really like it. And your thoughts stepping on them hurt.
Oh, dear me.
Looks like a spaceship from Star Wars. What was a little appearance? I love this. Where is everyone? Said the guy last week. Yep, he's in the wrong ground. And there's a few people did that. And Mama just killed a mouse, slide him right across the head. His remains are on your bed. Anyone who's got a cat will know that is exactly true. Chuck the singing one in there, surprised everybody. My daughter just told me I need help because I'm a compulsive liar. And then she locked the surgery door and sucked me off. Yes. Oh dear. If it was one of those things that I did say earlier, please, if you're easily offended, you best go in the kitchen now. Maths made simple. If you've got £20 and your wife's got £5, she has £25. And so I came across your resume. I do apologise.
Oh, no.
A&E, you've been waiting long, says the guy. Very good. We haven't had any of these for a while. Here's Shania Dwayne. Very good. And Peter Andre.
Oh, dear me.
Mitch has just sent a message to us. He said, I've gone quiet. I've got that, Mitch. It's because I'm getting told off for typing from Steve Williamson. So I've turned my mic down because I can't solve the problem. But thanks for letting us know. Roger Stewart's transformation into Lady Elaine Fairchild is nearly complete. And tired of being fat and ugly? Just be ugly. 24 Fitness. And Rodney Drive, and someone's crossed it out and put Dave Drive.
Brilliant.
Dave.
Another unfortunate title for food in a far eastern place, soup sluts. And been a terrible accident judging by the skid marks, lads. I think
Definitely.
I think I'll have an Indian instead, said this guy. Yes, the taste of one king, not very appealing to some. And this van is electric and better for the planet. As it gets towed away. The perfect tattoo to cover up the birthmark doesn't exit. And wife stabs husband with squirrel.
Oh.
Great news headline from Jimmy, of course. If you've got an old and wanted fridge freezer you want to get rid of, simply place it on the pavement, paint a cross of St. George on the front, and voila! The council will, whether it be within England or Scotland, will make sure it's removed within hours. It's a great suggestion. And so how many times did this happen before someone finally said, yeah, okay, I guess we need to put up a sign? It's another one from Jimmy. And a young woman goes into a tattoo shop and asks for a portrait of Elvis on her inner thigh. After removing her skirt and panties, the tattooist goes to work. When he's finished, the woman isn't happy, so he does another portrait of Elvis on the other inner thigh. The woman is still not happy and refuses to pay the tattooist and says, I'll grab the first person off the street, and if they don't recognise Elvis, the tattoos are free. The little old lady's walking past the shop. So the tattooist asks for her to take a look at the tattoos and tell me who they are. The young woman spreads her legs. And the little old lady takes a good look, and after several minutes she turns to the tattooist and says, I don't know who the twins are, but the one in the middle is Keir Starmer.
Oh dear.
And 4 years ago I was doing trolleys in Sainsbury's on a Monday night. I left, worked hard and got a degree from the University of Sheffield. Now I'm doing trolleys at Waitrose on a Friday night. Never give up. And Dickens cider being advertised. Every girl wants a Dickens cider. What a great advertising campaign that is. Top tips from Viz. There are signs on my local train that say an emergency break glass. I would have thought that any emergency situation could only be made worse by having broken glass all over the place. We'll finish up with these two. Ian Russell sent us this one. Lookalike, Nick Voltamada and Michael Jackson's son, Prince Jackson.
Oh.
Okay, Ian.
And we'll give Tweet of the Week to Craig Hope this week because he got the exclusive yesterday. Once Isaac's done breaking Craig Hope to Merseyside, says this Liverpool fan. No problem. I'll cover Isaac to Barcelona in 2027.
Nice
LGG, thank you for spotting that one. If you've got any tweets of the week that you want to send us, then please email nufcmatters1892@gmail.com and we will play them on the show in due course. Tell Steve Williamson to turn his TV down, says John. Steve, your sound is low, pal. I'm going to turn it back up now because, there's nothing I can do when we're live on a broadcast, unfortunately. But I did turn it down, and it's sometimes when you've got to type, I'm afraid. Steve says, I wasn't telling you off. I was wondering where the noise was coming from. But it was the same when I watched the show with Sid on the other day. Well, Steve, something's happened at your end because I've been doing that for 5 years. Doing it exactly the same way. So you've obviously got a new telly or you're watching it differently. No politics, says Roger. Brilliant laughs. Thank you. They were great, Steve. Well, listen, that's why we always give a little warning. It's very important to give a warning before you put those out because there are a few woke people out there who don't like the show and would like to see us get into trouble. But we can't take any responsibility for them because you send us them. Okay, Champions League draw. Barcelona, PSG, Bayer Leverkusen, Benfica, Marseille, PSV, Atletico Bilbao, and Union SG, George. What do you make of that?
Oh, fantastic. I mean, I just watching the thing was, and the names coming out the hat was thrilling, and you're absolutely right. Every time somebody was coming to St James's Park, it really lit the thing up altogether. And my goodness, there's some history in there as well with PSG and the games against Barcelona, for goodness sake, are legends. So the other thing is, of course, is the words out from PSG and other places that coming to St James's Park on a Wednesday night or whatever night it is isn't an easy task. So they're all in for a difficult time, but great. I don't reflect on. I mean, I see some of the pundits this morning, saying it's a tough draw. It's this, it's that, it's the other. It's always a tough draw because sooner or later you've got to play these teams. And for me, this particular setup in the European Cup actually, I think, favours us slightly in the fact that we'll be strong at St James's Park. And some of those lesser teams, if I can call them that, because there's hardly any lesser teams in there, will not enjoy St James's Park at all. It will just frighten them to death. I mean, even Monday night, I gather, we passed our record on noise for that second goal against Liverpool. 123 decibels. Never been heard of before. Well, some of those teams there are going to hear it as well when they come to St James's Park. Just looking forward to it. It's all exciting and a chance to show a medal and with another player in or another two in, would have a squad that could make a dent in that. Is my opinion. So looking forward to it, Steve. Just absolutely excited about it all.
Okay, same question to you, Mitch. It's a great draw. It really is.
It could have been much worse. I could have maybe been a little bit kinder, particularly with the pot 3 and 4 teams. But at the same time, we don't have any massive away trips. We're not going to Kazakhstan for all. I was looking forward to that because that's an easy trip from here. It isn't an easy trip from Newcastle. And so I think you have to put all of these things into perspective. That the travelling miles aren't as far as they could be, and that makes the logistics and the planning and the tiredness a lot less of a problem. It's quite clear from what was said on the night of the draw by people in the venue, nobody is looking forward to a trip to St James's Park. Drawing us from pot 4 would have been the last thing most of those teams in the other pots would have wanted. They'd have been looking at pot 4 going, nah, don't want to go there. That's where we could slip up. That's where we could get eaten on a Wednesday or a Tuesday night, And it's a chance to test ourselves against the big teams again. PSG will owe them one.
Yeah.
Be good to be reunited with Barcelona because of all the ties between the clubs. And there's a genuine mutual respect exists between the two clubs, all based around one man. But, that's again football and passion and sentiment and all those things that gets wrapped up therein. And there's nobody there that we should fear. And yet, equally, we've got to respect every single team there too. And I think you've got to mention the Union player who happens to be a Newcastle fan celebrating when he got that draw. That'll be an interesting trip. I gather they're going to play their games at Anderlecht Stadium because their usual stadium only holds about 9,500, I think. And I think they've been nominated to play their games at Anderlecht. So, yeah, I mean, that'll be a great trip, that one. And I think it could have been a heck of a lot worse, and I'm very happy with that draw.
Yeah. Steve, thoughts on the Champions League draw?
Great draw, Steve. And other than Union SG, I think we've played all of those clubs before in European football over the years.
Yeah.
Amazing to think of. You look at what it could have been and where we could have been going. But there's a little bit of payback for a number of those teams. I was going to rattle off. I was going to say, well, we're going to obviously PSG. We're going to Parc des Princes. There's a stadium name for you. We're going to the Bay Arena with Leverkusen. We're going to the Stadio Orange Velodrome in Marseille. And then I think we've got Union SG, as just said, was going to be at the Stade Joseph Marianne, but is now going to be at Lotto Park. So just like I thought I'd give those grounds a mention because they weren't given a mention on the official draw, unlike St James's Park, which was continually mentioned. It's going to be a great opportunity. It's great. I mean, I think that's a really good draw. There is nobody in that that we should be fearful of in terms of opposition. I mean, okay, Barcelona, but they're going to have to come here, and they're going to be, it's a different Barcelona the last time they came. Whether they're going to have the same as they got in their other previous visit in the Champions League, we'll have to wait and see. And I think we could. I think that itself as the first Champions League fixture, we're just waiting for the dates now, is a great opener for us. PSG won't like the idea of having to play us, even though they're the champions. Leverkusen are struggling at the moment. They've maybe that's something to do with a new manager. I'm not too sure. Benfica at home. Be interesting to see how they travel. They often do travel quite well in Europe. Marseille. I think is that Paul Pogba, Mitch? Is Paul Pogba at Marseille? Or did he go to, I can't remember.
Did he go to Monaco?
I'm not too sure. I don't know whether it was Monaco or Marseille.
He's somewhere in France.
Yeah, and so it's starting to look then at, this is what as we get nearer the game, you start looking at who the opposition players are and whether they'll be playing. So I think all in all, it's a really, really good draw for us. When we first talked about it, Mitch, we said that we had no idea how this 3-dimensional, 6-dimensional chess system was gonna be, and I think I don't know about you, I was pleasantly surprised by what happened last season with just the bottom lot dropping out. I think there's every chance that we can certainly get into the next stage, and after that, it's very much luck, as well as opportunity to be grasped. Because you look at what Villa did.
It's definitely delivered what UEFA wanted.
Yes.
Which the two things that this Swiss style chess format gives you, it means top teams can afford to lose more than 2 games and still qualify for the knockouts, which is what they want.
Yeah.
They want top teams in the knockout stages. But it also gives you more big team against big team fixtures, which are great for television numbers.
Yeah. And it also gives us and teams who are with lesser experience in Europe the opportunity to get into the next phase. Because
the fact that you've got the top 8 automatically go forward, and then you have that first stage playoff between teams drawn from 9 to 24. I mean, that's a low bar.
Yeah,
really. It's a relatively low bar, and so if you can show your strength at home and pick up what you can on the road. Like you say, Villa did well in the group stage, last time round, and so you can put down a marker early on, which carries you forward quite nicely. But when push comes to shove, there's going to be a hell of a lot of big teams circling into that last 32.
Yeah.
Or into that last 16 rather.
Yeah.
And that's when it really starts to mean business, and that's when those big clubs should come to the fore, really.
I think the format actually increases our chances.
It certainly gives us a better shot at bloodying the nose of the great and good along the way.
Yeah.
And I'd take that any day and every day. That
and I
St.
tell you what
James's
else.
Park will be a place. There's not a single team in Europe will look at St. James's Park as a place that they would be comfortable to go. They've already seen that on Monday night.
Yeah. What was also interesting last season was the jeopardy that occurred when it got to like the last 2 rounds. when you had the likes of Man City who looked like they weren't going to get through. You had the likes of
Yeah.
Madrid that were struggling, and you know there was a casualness about the commentary on it, but in reality they were like little ducks, weren't they? As George would say, their feet were going like that underneath the surface. They were panicking that they weren't going to get through, because it was a new format. It was the first time I'd watched the draw. Mine didn't they drag it out? Dear me!
Yeah.
I mean, did we need the fan club scenario that we had at the beginning with Ibrahimovic? Was there any necessary need for that? I would say no. I mean, they made the Eurovision Song Contest look almost professional at times, and then to do the old Strad Kakar in. Yeah, the thing with Kakar is he looks younger now than he did when he played. I don't know what he's on, but it's amazing. But for to then bring him in and then have to stand there and just like hit the button, and you're thinking, God, let's get someone in to hit a button, and then halfway through the look on Ibrahimovic's face when he was substituted and made to hit the button while Kakar got to lift the balls out of the bucket, you know. I thought, dear me, they're going to have to give him another award next year just to stop him from being in a huff, you know. Fascinating, but
it's a boring thing to watch.
It is. I mean,
yeah.
I wasn't interested last year.
FIFA and UEFA have always been very good at performative nonsense and self-congratulatory performative nonsense at that.
Fannying on.
Yeah. That would be the technical term, Mr. Wraith, yes.
I presume
I believe that would be the term.
Yeah.
I was waiting for UFO to land, piloted by Elvis, and then Lord Lucan will come out riding Shergar, carrying the list of the next fixtures. You know, it was that kind of sort of randomness, really. But they do what they want to do, and it's nice to be back and part of it again. And you can see why when clubs like Villa and us get that taste of it, you want more of it, performative nonsense or not.
Every year.
You're hitting with the big boys every year. And so let's have more of it, and you're never going to change it. It's going to take something radical to alter the way that UEFA and FIFA work. And so, but I guess one thing is the more areas of football that PIF are involved with, the more they're going to want their jewel in the crown part of that as well. And don't forget the bigger political football at play here. And for us to be there, in spite of things the Premier League have done, is a feather in PIF's cap. Make no mistake about that.
Yeah.
The only thing that was missing at the end was an announcement that the draw that would take place for the next round would be done by some sort of like mime artist or something, because I think they've tried everything else so far, haven't they?
Somebody regurgitating a string of razor blades with the club's names on.
We're going to move on, but it's great to be back in the Champions League. Like we say, we'll want to be in that every year. Quite a few people asking about Melly this week. No, Melly and me have been in touch. We're mates. We'll go back a long way, me and Melly. He's a great lad, and the banter's been fantastic between us this week. He was like Grimsby, though. You can't knock the kid. He goes home and away, and you know what I mean. He's.
Has he made any comment about Amarim rocking in the corner in the dugout when the penalty was?
He made the mistake of getting me on the pod.
Is that?
He made the mistake of getting me on his podcast last week, so I went on. And I basically told him again, and Gary, that Amarim was the wrong manager for them, and that Amarim would not be the manager by the time it came to Christmas, and they laughed at me. And then look at what's happened in the first few games. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. That club is a mess, and I'm not shedding any tears over it. So I think he may be getting me back on to say I told you so.
Well, how does the manager have a team taking all those penalties and not watch one of them?
Daft.
Or is it? race.
Yeah.
You know where it's heading, don't you? You know where it's heading because there's 2 managers just been sacked in Turkey, and you know that they're going to get rid of Amr and they're going to bring one of those back, and it's just going to keep regurgitating. And it's unbelievable. It's remarkable to see a club that has struggled, that is struggling in the manner that it is, and yet still harps on to be the biggest club in the world.
Yeah. Okay, Newcastle United are in action this weekend. We go to Elland Road tomorrow. It is a 5:30 kick-off live on Sky Sports. The away end, as always, is sold out. There is an away fan zone there. We will hear a little bit from Scunny Mag in a minute. Team news, well, Anthony Gordon begins his suspension. Joe Linton misses out through injury, but both Fabian Schär and Sandro Tonali should be available. Sean Longstaff is preparing to face his former club for Leeds United. The midfielder has come off the bench in both Premier League games so far this season. Carl Darlow is there as well, but he hasn't played this season. But he did play in the Carabao Cup at Sheffield Wednesday. No league games for him. Referee is Peter Banks. It's his first game since the game that he officiated at SJP in April, the 2-1 win over Brentford. And VAR is Jared Gillette. Okay, so if you are travelling to Leeds tomorrow, here is a little bit of information. It's time for your what 3 words.
Hi folks, Paul here with another away day guide. This one's for Elland Road. If you're travelling down to watch us take on Leeds United, this one's for you. Okay, so Elland Road. If you're driving down, there's plenty of parking around the stadium, and the Fullerton car park on the west side of the ground where the coaches all head to is the best one to book into. Postcode for it is Lima Sierra 118 Tango Sierra, and your what 3 words for the entrance if driving in is hired copper spared. There's some free street parking in one of the estates, but I wouldn't advise using it if you have anything on your car that suggests you might be supporting the visiting team. If you head to Views Limit Study, that'll take you into the estate and through to close to where the footbridge is, and then just find a spot near there. But it is a bit of a grind to get out of after the game. If you're coming in the trains, cross-country trains have got you covered there, and the majority of those you can do without having to change trains. Okay, moving on to pubs. You'll get nothing around the ground. There are a lot of pubs in the city centre around the station that'll be more welcoming. Closer ones to the station don't allow football shirts on a match days. This includes Leeds fans as well. But let's have a look at a few. So as you come through the ticket barriers, if you turn immediately left, head past the McDonald's, down the ramp, right in the corner on the left is the Wetherspoons. Jumps Price Milky will get you straight to the door there. And if you prefer real ales and stuff like that, straight on, as you come out the ticket barriers, out of the station, turn right, and as the road bends around, on your left there will be the Leeds Brewery tap. But the one big plus for me for that one is straight opposite you've got the taxi rank for the train station. So as soon as you want to head up to the ground, you should easily be able to step out the front door and grab a taxi. The best bus for getting to the ground, the number 52 for Tingley Mills, runs regularly about every 20 minutes from just outside the Corn Exchange on Vicar Lane. Pop Menu Oddly is your what 3 words for the bus shelter that you need to be at, and that takes around 8 minutes on a non-match day, and it goes straight past the stadium. The club do run a fan zone in a separated off area, but it's not great. But on the plus side, if you head into the ground, it's the same price. The concourse is okay. I think it's actually got a carpet, which is strange. If you are wanting to head straight into the ground, Goes Forest Stars will get you to the entrance to the area for your fan zone and your turnstiles, but you will need to show your ticket to get in there. It is away fans only. If you're staying over, there are loads in the city, but for the ground, the nearest one is a Premier Inn, just off junction 1 of the M621. Quit Agenda Living will find you the entrance to the car park for that one. And I think that's it for Leeds. Thanks for watching. I've been Paul, and I will see you in the next one. Cheers.
Cheers, Scunny Mag. I forgot to play his video for the first away game, but I was on holiday, so I did have an excuse. But thank you, I did manage to get it up on the website, so it is there for the next Aston Villa, maybe in the cup. Tune Stato next.
Hello everyone. Newcastle goes looking for the first win of the season at Elland Road tomorrow. Actually, we lost 3 of the last 4 Premier League games, which is more than we lost in the previous 11 in the league. Towards the end of last season, we lost at home to Everton and away to Arsenal, and of course the defeat against Liverpool on Monday. Now, on the positive side, Newcastle is on a run of 8 consecutive wins against newly promoted sides, and Leeds are just coming back to the Premier League. Also, Newcastle has won 7 out of 14 games against Leeds in the Premier League, 50% success rate. This makes them the favourite opposition for any club that has played more than 10 times against Newcastle in the Premier League. Now, on the negative side, Newcastle has won only 1 game in the last 6 against Leeds, despite Leeds getting relegated 2 years ago. And Leeds are on a run of 21 games at home without a defeat. Actually, their manager, Daniel Farke, has faced Newcastle twice and he still hasn't lost. He also has faced Eddie Howe's Bournemouth and he still hasn't lost against them and him personally. When it comes to players, of course, Anthony Gordon has the most shots out of any player in the Premier League, and he still has no goal in close to 20 games in a row, and he won't be able to play because he collected his 3rd red card in Newcastle colours. He got sent off at Brighton last season, against West Ham in March 24, and now against Liverpool. Actually, if my memory serves me right, I think that David Batty, Lee Boyer and Stephen Taylor hold the record for 4 red cards in Newcastle colours, so actually Anthony Gordon is very close to beating them. Let's see what happens on Saturday and if our new German centre forward will play any part. Away the lads.
What a great stat. But Anthony Gordon wants to avoid that. Thanks, lads. Great stuff. Thank you for sending that stuff in, as always. And we always put that up separately on the YouTube channel and on our socials. George, here we go again then. Game 3 of the Premier League season. Newcastle United trip to Leeds. We've got a draw. We've got a defeat. We're going to get a win.
I've got to say it's a game I'm looking forward to. A strong Leeds United I like to see in the Premiership. The question is, how strong is this Leeds United? And they've been hit-y-missy in the matches they've had so far. They've had a couple of games where they've been kind of, well, not kind of, they have been bloody awful. And one game where they weren't too bad. So it's going to be it's a hard-fought game, I think. But I think we have enough about it to take Leeds even at Elland Road. And I'm looking forward to a 2-0 win for Newcastle United.
You think it'll be a Steeler up front, George?
I think he'll get a run out, that's for sure. I'd be very surprised because it's not as though he's not going to be unfit. I mean, he was playing just before he left Germany to come here, so I'd be surprised if he didn't get a run out.
Okay, good stuff. Come to you, Mitch. Leeds United. I mean, this takes us back to Newcastle staying up. It was a huge win, that John Joe Shelby's free kick at all. It was the turning point in our season.
Yeah, it was. Was really an important result and kicked everything into shape from there. We really needed that. And I've been at Leeds when we've done some amazing things, and I've been at Leeds when we've done some embarrassing things. It's always been a bit of a mixed bag of a ground for us to go to, but I think, having seen bits of them this season, and obviously I know quite a lot of the Leeds lads out here, they seem to have a concern that Falk doesn't know his best 11. And that he seems to be tinkering constantly. And they also question whether he's really in control of the transfers. So all of these things don't sound great for a newly promoted club. And I think that what I've seen of them this season, they've rode their luck a little bit, but sometimes you deserve to do that. You make your own. But they were absolutely abject against Arsenal. Yeah. And they seem to have adapted from last season Leicester's interesting zonal marking system where everybody marks a 1 foot square area in the box and doesn't come out of it. And given the height we've got and given the ability to deliver balls into the box that we have, that's something I think we should be exploiting. It's a shame the German lad probably cannot be involved tomorrow, because I think that'd be the kind of duel he would love. But we've still got plenty of height, and Asula's no midget. And I think I'd like to see him. I think his goal will be a pick up for him, and I think he's earned a right to start. He's really the only fit forward we've got, or available forward we've got. So you've got to show him some trust somewhere. And against the newly promoted team, you're not asking them to go in against seasoned Premier League veterans. So I think we'll keep our shape. I would go with Asula. Hopefully that injury to Tonali was just an AC joint injury and nothing more serious, and he's got a good chance of playing, I gather. But he still has to be careful because it takes a little while to heal, and if he goes down awkwardly again, it could open up further, and that's certainly not what we want. But I thought Mailey and in particular Ramsey, when he come on, I thought looked fantastic. By the way,
yeah.
And I think we'll have a bit more of him, please. And I wouldn't be concerned if they decided to rest Chair, although it sounds like he has passed the concussion protocols. So, and Eddie will probably stick with the same back four. And why not? My change would be I would have Ramsdale in goal already. I think I've seen enough to know that if he's eventually going to be the number one, why shouldn't you be it now?
Okay, interesting, that one. We'll keep that one for another day. I'll see how Pope does. I'm sure he will be starting tomorrow.
Yeah,
Give us your predictions. Give us your predictions, mate. First of all, the dice, and then your prediction.
The dice has come up with an interesting 0-2.
Okay. What do you reckon?
2-0. 1-0 to us. I think we'll squeak it. I think we'll be made to fight for it, but I think we've got enough to do it.
I went 2-0 yesterday on the Supermarket and Gibbo show. Steve, give us your feelings on the game against Leeds at Ellen Road.
I'm very much in the Mitch camp regarding Pope, but I do think he'll start. I think Ramsdale, more Pope plays, the more opportunity it's going to give to Ramsdale. I think the more confidence Ramsdale's going to have. But I think Eddie set his stall out with Pope as his number one, and he'll give him as long as he can. I thought he was at fault for 2 of the goals on Monday night. I thought he could have done better, put it that way. Shots from outside should be saved by keepers, especially when the shots like that one and the second one even. Not to mention the third one where he was like, the thing with Pope is he's either very, very good or very, very poor. And every time I say that he's been poor, he pulls it out of the hat and has a brilliant game. So let's hope he does have a brilliant game. I think the back four will be the same. Trippier, Tino, Byrne and Shaw. If Tonali's not fit, then I would imagine he'll bring Ramsey into midfield and Miley and Bruno and Ramsey. Bonds on the left. On the right, I'm going to go for Murphy. And I think he might play Alanga down the middle. I think he might go small, speed. And that's no disrespect to Asula, but I just don't think that Asula is ready for start. He's getting better, but it's coming from a very, very low base for me. And I think that I'm still not sure whether Eddie trusts him. He did mention something that we've talked about, which is he's getting to learn the system. I think there was words to that effect that Eddie said about him, but just getting to not quite yet. So I wouldn't be surprised if Barnes, Alanga, and Jacob Murphy come in on the right hand side. It means that Murphy can come back into midfield as and when needed. Barnes can play a little bit deeper as well, and then they can thread the balls for Alanga over the top. And let's hope Alanga's got his shooting boots on. In terms of the score, Steve, I think it's going to be a tight game. That Leeds can I say that it's still dirty Leeds? Can we still call them that? Are we allowed to? Is it
if you want to?
Is it politically acceptable to call them dirty Leeds? I think that's the phrase that's been used since 1969. So yeah, it's dirty Leeds. They'll probably try and play a physical game. They'll probably think that our midfield's a little bit short without Joe Linton. But I'm going to go for a 1-0 win, Mitch. I think we'll hang on. I think we can get a goal from Alanga and then we can shot, keep it tight. With as long as the back four can hold tight and hold steady and keep a shape, we shouldn't be in any great trouble. So hopefully we'll pick up our first 3 points of the season, Steve.
Fingers crossed. Lots of predictions coming in the chat. Go on, George.
Just to come back on the Ellen Road as a personal issue, I remember as a 16-year-old going there to play in an FA Youth Cup game. Ted Hughes, who ran the ends, the nursery team, if there was anybody in the ground that was special, he used to try and get them to come into the dressing room. And we're told at half-time in this match at Ellen Road against Leeds ends that somebody special was coming in to speak to her. The door opened and in walked this huge brown guy in a beautiful white suit. And his name was John Charles.
Oh,
and he had 11 gibbering wrecks of kids looking at this lovely big man talking to them. Something I've obviously never forgotten and won't forget, because he was a absolutely gentle giant or a lovely man. But to actually meet the man, you know, everybody was. It took a while to get used to the second half after that.
brilliant.
Okay, we're going to finish with one of these.
Quick one.
Dear Matt, we're asking to send in photographs of somebody from Newcastle United, past or present. Thanks to Peter Thompson for this one. The DI met one of the fastest players to wear black and white, Alan Foggin, former Tyne left back, Ray Ellison, and of course my and Mr. Hasty's hero, Jinky Jim Smith. And we had a day at the races, he says. Yeah, Jinky Jim, you don't often see photographs of Jinky. But thank you for sending that in. Great stuff, great photo. Mitch, I cut you off in your prime. You were going to say something?
Right. Just a quick one, just a regular viewer, Mr. Steve Bennett, who's often in Saudi and Dubai area. He's in Bahrain with Mr. Penman to watch the match tomorrow. And I just wanted to say all the best, Steve. If you need us to text you the result on Sunday, let us know.
Tell him I've done me eyebrows.
Oh dear. Great stuff. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I will be back for a Q&A in the morning at 10 o'clock. On Sunday, you'll get a double whammy. In the morning, 10 o'clock will be Three's a Crowd with me, Rye and Ted. And then 5 o'clock on Sunday night, it'll be the professionals looking back at the Leeds United game. Fans Forum will be back to normal on Monday at 6 o'clock. Tuesday, we'll be talking the tune, and I'll have to sort it with the lads, but I think we'll have to do the Amigos next Wednesday. So just a warning that the Amigos will probably be next Wednesday, I would say at 6 o'clock. So 6 till 7:30, I would say the Amigos, because I know you like it live. When we do a pre-record, it tends to upset people, so we'll do a live probably Wednesday for the Amigos. But there you go. Thank you very much. Let's hope it's 3 points tomorrow. If you're travelling down, safe travels. Thanks to George, thanks to Steve, thanks to Mitch, but thanks to you for watching. Take care.
Good to see you, man.